Hello and welcome to Catholic News Roundup. I'm Christine Niles. Today's February 7th, 2025. Here are this week's top stories. President Donald Trump is protecting Christians. An executive order signed Thursday titled Eradicating Anti-Christian Bias vows to end weaponization of government against people of faith.
To confront such weaponization and religious persecution, today I'm signing an executive order to make our Attorney General, who's a great person, she's going to be a great Attorney General, Pam Bondi, the head of a task force, brand new, to eradicate anti-Christian bias. About time, right? Anti-Christian bias. The mission of this task force will be to immediately halt all forms of anti-Christian targeting and discrimination within the federal government, including at the DOJ, which was absolutely terrible, the IRS, the FBI, terrible, and other agencies.
During his talk, he mentioned his near assassination.
Honestly, it changed something in me. I feel even stronger. I believed in God, but I feel much more strongly about it. Something happened. So, thank you. Thank you. And I really believe you can't be happy without religion, without that belief. I really believe it. I just don't see how you can be. So let's bring religion back. Let's bring God back into our lives. Thank you all very much.
These sentiments were echoed by Vice President J.D. Vance at the International Religious Freedom Summit.
And in this short period, the president has issued orders to end the weaponization of the federal government against religious Americans, pardon pro-life protesters who were unjustly imprisoned under the last administration, and importantly, stop the federal censorship used to prevent Americans from speaking their conscience and speaking their mind, whether it's in their communities or online. Now, our administration believes we must stand for religious freedom, not just as a legal principle, as important as that is, but as a lived reality, both within our own borders and especially outside of them.
In addition to protecting Christians, Trump is also protecting women. He signed an executive order Wednesday banning men from women's sports.
I want to make this a really good signature because this is a big one, right?
Before signing the order, he talked about the many medals stolen from women.
Men claiming to be girls have stolen more than 3,500 victories, that's a lot, and invaded more than 11,000 competitions designed for women. But all of that ends today because with this executive order, the war on women's sports is over.
This comes a couple weeks after Trump announced the federal government would no longer recognize any sex other than male and female, leading some transgenders to throw a fit.
In case you're wondering what it's like being transgender under this new administration, I just got my new passport in the mail and they changed the gender to male because of Donald Trump.
Wow. Turning to the CIA, its entire workforce is being given the option to resign. Staff are being offered a buyout option of 8 months full pay and benefits in exchange for leaving, part of Trump's plan to trim the government fat. They're the same terms offered to all federal employees, approximately 20,000 who've accepted the offer so far. The CIA's deal makes it the first intelligence agency to have such an offer. And on that note, the CIA is being accused of using U.S. aid as a front group for covert operations around the globe. The explosive news has been developing all week, ever since Elon Musk announced his Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, was shutting down U.S. aid funding. White House spokeswoman Carolyn Leavitt listed a handful of examples.
And I would just say a strong message to Democrats who are out there pretending to be outraged about the long list of crap that this administration is cutting federal waste and funding, like $2 million for sex changes in Guatemala, $6 million to fund tourism in Egypt, $20 million on a new Sesame Street show in Iraq, $4.5 million to combat disinformation in Kazakhstan. I could go on, and I'm happy to provide this list to every single one of you.
USAID was caught doling out millions of dollars to left-wing media outfits while trying to influence politics and enact regime change abroad.
USAID is under the cloak of being a humanitarian aid organization designed to advance U.S. foreign policy, is assigned the dirtiest tasks that the State Department can't get caught doing, and that used to be done directly by the CIA. But USAID is able to act as essentially a covert operations division in the way that the CIA used to, except it's not even bound by the requirement of a presidential finding to authorize a covert operation that the CIA does, which is why what you've seen for the past 2 decades is that most of the international scandals involving spycraft have had to deal with USAID rather than CIA.
USAID was also involved in the attempt to impeach Donald Trump in 2019.
USAID was really about regime change abroad. It was a kind of public-facing part, regime change operation like CIA, but not covert, more overt. Well, now you see a similar blowback, just like they did censorship abroad and brought censorship tools back home. They were doing this sort of thing abroad, creating a predicate essentially for Trump's impeachment. So I think it's just one of many revelations that we'll see coming out in the next few weeks.
So USAID was involved in regime change abroad and here at home.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio, a practicing Catholic, announced Thursday he's cutting USAID staff from 14,000 to just under 300.
We go to USAID, which is a big chunk of foreign aid, $40 billion or so. They're completely uncooperative. They won't tell you what the programs are. They refuse to answer questions. They try to push through payments. Even after the executive order, they were still trying to push money through the system.
Can it be reformed, or does it need to die?
Well, that was always the goal, was to reform it. But now we have rank insubordination. Now we have basically an active effort where their basic attitude is, we don't work for anyone. We work for ourselves. No agency of government can tell us what to do.
Democrats are panicking, staging a protest earlier this week outside USAID headquarters. According to one source, quote, "This is worse than 9/11 for Democrats. USAID is the primary vessel they use to achieve their political agenda. USAID is and always has been the primary source of funding for their influence peddling schemes and for their indirect sources of income." In light of all this, Representative Thomas Massie introduced a bill to abolish USAID altogether. And Trump, in yet another executive order, is demanding an audit of all NGOs that receive federal dollars. One of those NGOs, Catholic Relief Services, a major beneficiary of USAID, is being forced to slash its budget. The international charity of the U.S. bishops will enact 50% cuts to its annual $1.5 billion budget. In a recent email to staff, CEO Sean Callahan wrote, "We anticipate that we will be a much smaller overall organization by the end of this fiscal year." Callahan rakes in $640,000 in salary. It's unclear whether that will also be cut down. CRS has come under fire for years for promoting birth control and abortion abroad, in direct violation of Catholic teaching. In other intelligence news, FBI agents are suing the DOJ. 2 class action lawsuits were filed February 4th, accusing the DOJ of violating agents' constitutional rights and exposing them to retribution. These come after agents were required to reveal whether they worked on prosecuting January 6 protesters, 1,500 of whom Trump pardoned on his first day in office. 5,000 FBI employees were revealed to have been involved with the prosecution. That's 15% of the FBI workforce. J6ers are hitting back.
That is not fair. They hunted us down. They surveilled my house with a black van. They listened to my conversations. They violated my life. They took my things, and now they want to hide and file a lawsuit? Must be nice. Wish we could file a lawsuit for their abuse, and we will.
That is this week's Catholic News Roundup. Please visit stellamaris.media and subscribe for the latest news and updates. And please do help me to grow this channel by subscribing to this channel, liking, and sharing this content. Thank you so much for watching. May God bless your week. I'm sure it's going to be another busy one. I'm Christine Niles.